So, I thought I would do a little more for the AI. I wanted to really kind of bring in two things, and then, I don't know, I should probably end this series after that. Don't want to, no point in beating a dead horse, right? I mean, there's a ton of things I could add, but I wanted to show two things. One is more for the world info, communicating to the AI, and the other one will be for the AI to do like attacks. And in some cases it might be for maybe using a gun, maybe it's a sword, who knows. Random attack, I don't know. So first let's set up the animator, right? So we have very little in the ways of our animator on our AI. So I'll bring in which one did I bring in? Movement anime set. This one has fighting in it, I believe. There we go. I have punches. Getting hit. We got kicks. Let's go with this one. Can't just stuff it into the blend tree. That would be weird. But that one's kind of a nice one. Very flamboyant. And maybe even the kick. Okay. So these can be done numerous different ways. I've done them in blend trees where you use a float, call them by name. There's a lot of different ways, right? Like, I don't, maybe by name might be the easiest way. We'll call one, say, attack 1, and the other one attack 2. So, I mean, alternatively, I could make, say, triggers even, and just come off of the any state and back down to the locomotion. But for something different, I will do the name. I'll call them by name. So keep in mind, we're using attack 1 and attack 2 for names. Alright, so combat wise, let's build an FSM here so we can template it. We got to think, okay, what is to attack? We're going to need a target, and that has to be an input, because this is going to be a template, so we need to know, it has to be fed information. Alright, so we have a target. Let's just do a basic. Now at this point in time, you could do a distance check and then maybe run a ranged weapon versus like a melee weapon, depending on distances. But I think we'll just go. We're gonna move in. We're gonna go at the player, and all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna say get distance. I'm gonna use get distance too because I like it. And we're gonna go to the target to distance. And for anyone who's ever watched me kind of make AI, one thing I don't use is you could always use the path standing, but even that's I know it's here somewhere. maybe it's on the agent set destination. Well, anyways, I don't use it anyways. Is the built-in like arrived advance? Oh yeah, here, the get remaining distance and stuff like that. There's a lot of these I don't bother using. Like the arrived event, it just it's actually a very, very tough thing. Like I mean, if you don't use the arrived event, you're just storing the distance, it might be fine. Like you can probably do that. But the arrived events, shitty at best. And that's it. It's not a Playmaker thing. That's literally a Unity thing, dealing with moving, the braking, the stopping, how far you are, the way nav mesh works. Even by normal code, it is just not a good method to use those. So it's just flat out better to get the distance and just compare it to something higher than your stopping distance, right? Like I can say 2, and if we are less than that, let's attack. Now we could do sequence, so that we could say, like, we're going to do the punch and then the kick, then the punch and then the kick, and we're always just going to sit there and alternate them, right? That is one feasible method. I tend to like the send random event. To me, this is often the way I go, because then now you can put weights to these things. Each of these could represent a different attack, so you can weigh them out differently. Like maybe you have like punching and some kicking in here, and this is like some sort of special. That is another method. Now we, though, are using a string. So now I could use the send random event and set strings, and that would work just fine. But I'm just going to go say select random string, and we're going to say attack 1, attack 2, and we only have the 2 of them, so I don't need the third one. And this is going to be our attack. And again, like I can weigh these. Like we can, say more often do the first one and not so often do the second one. We go here. The other thing I like to do, anytime I'm doing anything with an agent, and they've moved somewhere, and now I want them to do something, I don't trust that they won't slide or continue moving briefly or whatever the case is. So I always say, hey, reset your path, just fucking kill your path, we don't want it. And that just puts an end to that. So the other thing is, now I could do animator play, and I could play a specific animation. I don't want to do that. Because animator play isn't as cool as crossfade. Crossfade allows you to blend a little bit into it, so it looks a little smoother. So we also need a model. We need to know what our model is. And the state name is going to be our attack. Transition duration, we'll just say 0.1. And that's just, I mean, you could use the play, don't get me wrong. So there we have that. So we can now just simply do a weight. I find it funner to do a random weight. Whoa, Lord 100. Right, and say, go 0.75 1.5 to even like a 2.5. And then we'll just finish that. And I'm just going to go back, right? And again, at this point in time, on our way back, we could be testing that distance and say, hey, you know what, it's time to pull out a gun and start shooting this guy because he's too far away, kind of idea. We can alternate right in here, right? So ideally, we're moving towards them. We're going to see how far we are from them. And when we're close, we're going to stop, select our attack, play the animation, and that's it. And let's get rid of that. And go into our plane, into our chase. Right, so this here, we have all this fun stuff going on. And we really don't have an attack. He just chases. So I'm just going to get rid of that. And now let's do AI attack, or attacking. So we're going to need the target, and that's going to be the scene target. The other thing is we need the model, and I forgot to put the model as an input. So now we can come out here, and we should have the model. So our model is this guy. That's our model. And now we will attack. Nothing will happen. We won't transfer any damage yet or anything, but we can, for all intents and purposes, attack. Right? And if I... Where's our little player? Let's bring him over here. He sees that warning. Oh. See, now this... See, he's doing his attacks. And if we go into the brain, and we see this guy. So there's doing the attack. He's doing all this stuff. He's getting that remaining distance, which is coming back as 0. Right, so which is why, like, for me, I don't know, I don't like dealing with those ones. I like the get distances. It's a much more solid, stable thing. Right, so now we take our little capsule again. Bring him over, and we'll see now he's actually going to run to him. Oh, see, now we have another problem, right? He's not facing the player. So we need to fix that too. But you see how he's he overshoots so easy. So we need to bring that down. Right, I'm going to up that stopping distance a bit. And what else can we do? Let's bring this down. Let's just see if that's going to improve that at all. No, that's going to make things absolutely horribly worse. Horribly worse. Oh my god, that's going to get too crazy. Alright, so it's a little better. It's actually able to stop on time. All right, cool. So let's fix that. I mean, I don't know if I need to go quite that high, but we'll go 20. The two actually seem to be like a pretty good distance, actually, so we'll keep that. So we don't want him to attack if he is not facing the right object. You know, it's a really easy way to fix that. Is you just run a smooth look at. That's it. It's really all you need to do, because smooth look at has, like, we'll keep it vertical. The shit can all be 0. We can adjust the speed, how fast this guy can turn. 5, even we can go 8. But this has this finish tolerance, right? And when it's finished, we can do that. So he should be looking at this guy until we go here, and if that doesn't work, we can always do an angle check. Now you do have an issue here, because what if we go in, we're not, like, we've kind of run around, so he's not facing us, he's trying to turn, and we've moved away. Well, now, okay, he looks, he'll do the attack even though your guy's like 20 feet away by now. It's just kind of weird, right? So you might want to do this and bring those in here with it as a backup plan, because if we are greater, we can go back to our running. And that should solve that. So more or less he'll has to be at the player. He's going to do the look at, and if something happens catastrophically in some way, he'll be able to get out of there and do the, yeah, see, now he has to turn to do this attack, right? And if you come over here and he attacks, and I think I did it too quick. Okay, well, he's pretty fast. Anywho, it works. That's the point. So let's catch some events here. Now I'm going to go to the model itself. I don't want to put too much logic on here, so it's a lot easier to do it up here and then just change the model over. But I remember saying this in one of the previous videos. This is kind of where you need to go. Well, you don't have to. There's other alternatives to do various things with the animator, such as, let's do a swing and a damage. Alright, so we're going to place both those here. We're going to do swing, we're going to do damage, we're going to add an audio source, and over here we're going to audio play, and we just need like some sort of whoosh sound. That's way too... even something like that, that's fine. Now, under the damage, I don't want to do the damage sound, at least not yet. What I want to do is do an overlap. I can even do an overlap list, but I think I'll just do an overlap. I don't know if I have the normal overlap. Sphere or box. No, oh yeah, sphere. That's what I'm looking for. Lower 100. So I want to, well, I don't want it at my feet, because that just tends to lead to weird things. So I want to get the position of this unit. I'm going to vector 3 add x, y, z, and I want to add just a little bit of an offset to this position. So our own position, I'm just going to add like a 0.75. So the sphere cast, if we looked at the guy, oh my god, what did I just do? The anchor point's right there. So that's, if I just use the overlap at the position type of idea, that it's going to happen at that anchor point for the radius. So I'm just adding a little bit, right? So I'd be, up here casting it in comparison. Well, I guess I can show you exactly where it would be, but roughly there, right? And I could probably go up to 1.25 or even 1. One's fine. And that's just to give it that what do you call it? I don't know what you'd call it. I've lost my mind. So we would collect a array. So this is one method, and I should probably do this my normal method. I will show you my normal method for AI. To me, it's not only more performant. To me, it works way more fluently. It's because ideally, if you look at the brain, well, let's just take a quick look down memory lane here. If we hop down the frickin' brain here, what are we saying at this stage? We're saying that we are at the player. We've seen a player, we have a target, we've gone to the player, we're at the right distance. We have selected an attack, we are looking at the player, and we're doing an attack. If that's the case, we already have targets. We have everything we need. We don't need a collider on a swing to tell us, like, oh, are we hitting a player there? Is there a player in front of us as we swing? We don't need to do that. We have the target. The AI brain, it knows to attack when the target's in front of us. Now, you could do some other things from there, right? Like we can do a quick angle check and stuff. But if I turn around and say, let's just grab from the brain the seen target, I now have a target that I can hit right there. I don't need any fancy detection anymore. So what I could do is, if I really wanted to make sure that this is still kosher, though, because what if we dodged, right? We could simply add in a couple little checks here, right? I can say, okay, we're attacking, we have our target. Are we still within, say, 2.25? Not every frame. So if we're less, we are nothing. We're not going to do anything. If we're greater, it's a fail. Put it that way. It has failed. And if we failed, we're going to go over here. There's a fail. That's where failures hit. Right over there. Go over there, failure. Right? So there's fail. So if we're going to come down, like, okay, we've attacked. If we're going to check the distance just to be on the safe side. The other thing we can do is get angle. We should have angle to target. We could use that, and I usually do this one on my own with the ways of calculating with stuff, but we can do that. Ignore height, sure, or maybe you want to catch the height, right? So angle, and we just need another float compare, and you would probably want this to match or be higher than your sight angle. So let's say we need to be, well, we'll say 60. If we're greater, well, it's also a fail. If it's not, however, we'll use a send event. I actually don't use the send event action very often, but we're going to use it in this case. So then we're going to continue. I'm just going to go like that. So keep in mind now, when the state enters, it's going to run this stuff in order. So if we're out of distance, it fails. That string gets aborted. Now we're here. This logic doesn't run. If it doesn't fail, we're going to get the angle. We're going to check the angle. If it fails, it aborts, goes here. If not, we're going here. So what is here? Well, let's do a play. And let's do some sort of bloody hit. There we go. Good old smack. Right? Might play particle effects, other things. We could, let's say, random int. And you might have a whole system for damage and calculations and stuff. Who knows? Who knows? I'll just call it R. And then set event properties. I like the properties compared to data. If you don't have the event properties, you can use a set event info or data. Same thing, just older system, but it works just the same way. Let's just make a key called damage. Why not? And it is going to be type integer. We're going to give it our R, our random, and send event to the bottom to our target, to an FSM named health, and we'll send damage. Why not? We'll send that over there. There we go. So if we have this guy, if we give him an FSM, he needs the event damage right there. We can now get event properties. This is the receiving end of things. We know we called it damage. We know it's an integer. So this could be damage. Now you could run checks if you're blocking or doing whatever at this point in time. In this case, I'm not. I'm just going to int subtract. You know, you would also run compares, because if your health is at 0, whoops. Let's give ourselves some health. And I'm going to put these out here just so that we can see them. You don't have to do this. That's just so that we can see this stuff. Oh, we have to call this one health, because that's what we named it. Give ourselves some health. And that's not going to do nothing, because we haven't put the events into the animation. So we need to do that. We need to go into our animator, and we see, okay, like these attacks. So we use the front move R and the punch heavy to idle. And if you've never done animation events, they are awesome. So we need to select our animation, right? And I'm going to do, say right about maybe there, we are going to send event, I think I called it swing, and then somewhere like right, oh, maybe right there, we'll send event damage. I should have done the other one before I hit apply. Alright, so let's grab the other one now, and it's got a bunch of things, because apparently I had some stuff in here. That was probably from another tutorial anyways. So let's go right, let's just get rid of these. Make sure your spelling is right on par, or this will not work. Oh yeah. Now we have our events. Now we can hit play. So let's grab our little player. You can hear it's playing both those sounds, right? That random wait might be a little long. But anyway, let's look at that down here. As you see, we can see our damage. 5. Our health is dropping. Oh, we're in the negatives. Like, we're so dead. He has beat the shit out of us. Yeah. And just for added effect, let's go into here. And I don't know if I'll do them both. I'll just kind of show you how I'm going to do them. So we have a walk forward loop. And you could separate these by foot as well, which works. You can go left foot, right foot kind of idea. So all we're going to do, I've already got stuff in here. Well, okay, cool. I'll just hold on to those. Maybe I'll even just use those. Called step. So ideally, and the way I do this for myself and what I've learned, especially if you have something with like dragons or fucking spiders or something with lots of legs, trying to do this I found was you get confused, you get lost. So for me, typically what I do when I'm doing this, I pick one leg, ignore the rest of them, and I go through the entire timeline just doing that one leg. And then I go back and grab the next leg and just do the whole timeline again. And I'll do that for, a thing could have 100 legs, it really wouldn't freaking matter, right? So if I start with just this right leg, every time the right leg comes down, right about there, right, just pretty much where I have this one, I would add event. So I'll just use this event here. It's called step, so I'll just add that, right? And now I'd keep watching, and it doesn't hit again. Okay, cool. So I'd now start back all over again, and I'd watch the other leg, and it's right about there. Yeah, so right there, all the way to the end. Okay, cool. So we have the events there, and they're called step. All right, cool. Now, we would need that event, and we could add particle effects and stuff to it. If you want like particle effects, one for each foot, like you're doing footprints, you wouldn't be able to use like one generic like step. You know, you'd want to break them up like foot left, foot right kind of idea, but whatever. In this case, step is fine. So all we're going to do is audio play. Now, with blend trees especially, you can have some massive issues doing this because you would have it for, say, your run. You could also do random. Right? We could do audio random instead of the random play. If you really wanted to mix things up. And then if you really want the biggest bang for your buck for this, you would also random float. There might even be a special action for this now. 0.9 to say 1.07. That's going to be our pitch. And adjusting your audio pitch randomly in between sounds is just such a really, really easy way to break your sounds up. So it's not like just the same thing, like da 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 da. You know, break it up. So your audio can go a lot longer by doing it that way. So now we have this. So the issue comes in if you have a blend tree, and if you have this system for your walking and for your running, and there's a bit of a blend, the events will fire on both of them, and you get some crazy ass crap happening in here. So the easiest way to do that, especially since one of the last ones, is using block events. I can put block events, put a timeout on the 0.2, sure, maybe 0.15, and cool. Now you might even want on this guy, make sure it goes to 3D. You don't have to, you can totally do 2D, but let's go 3D. Let's swap it over to linear, and let's bring this to, we'll say 75. So now we have this linear drop off on audio. See, and if you listen to the sound, listen for that slight audio pitch, that random pitch. It makes it sound like like we used 3 different clips, but now it's random pitch. It'll almost be like there's like, man, this guy just used like 500 different sounds for his footsteps. Like every step sounds different. Pretty much is how that'll go. So that's also based on this audio listener. You can only ever have one of these in your scene. So I'm opting to move it to the player. So that'll sound a little better as I move the player around. Right. The 75 might be a little far. Let's go 25. I could probably go a little farther than that. Right, 75 is obviously way too far. 25 is a little too short. Let's go 35. All right, so now we have this AI. So cool. He can attack. He can damage our player. He has some sound effects now. Right on. We didn't add any particles. So one of the things I also wanted to do, and this one, there's numerous ways to do it. What would happen if I went like this? Lord 100. Now this level happens to be roughly 100 meters exactly in width, and I believe I was smart enough to make it 100 meters. This is just a plane. Oh yeah, it's a plane, so it should be 100. There we go. Should actually do it like that. So okay, if this guy's at 0, let's move this guy X by 100, and let's take this guy Z by 100, and let's take this guy X and Z both by 100. All right, so now we have 4 areas. Now you could do this by trigger or numerous other methods, but I thought I would show you something a little cooler that can be useful for some really neat things. So the first thing we need to do is, that nav mesh is obviously crap now, so we need to rebake it. Okay, so we've rebaked our nav mesh. It's good. Now, if I look at the patrol, it's sitting in the middle, and it's called Patrol 1. I'm just going to actually duplicate it. I'm going to move it over to roughly this middle here. This isn't a good method of doing this. I mean, all these points are moving, fair enough. You're kind of better off to really pretty much remake that, but I'm going to do the same thing for all of these. Alright, so let's call this one Patrol 2. Let's keep the naming consistent here before it screws us all up. God knows we'll forget. And now I am going to add a few more proxies. we want an arrayless proxy, and we can call this patrol 2. And we'll add 2 more. 3 and 4. So there we have that. So the other thing we would need to do now is this guy. Actually, well, I guess we need 2 more of those. Let's just add those in now, might as well. So that guy's fine. So the next one we need patrol 2 and 2. Then we're going to do patrol 3, 3, and 4, and name 4. So now we have different paths that we could take. And you could actually have different paths inside these paths, and you can do all sorts of fun little neat stuff. So ideally, what's going to happen is if I take the player and I'm in this area, say this is a museum and we're an art thief and there's pictures and stuff all over. We got like a nightman or night guard or something like that. We want to avoid this guy. What would happen if I move my player over here? So we could have another night guard there, I suppose. That's one method. But the other method is to tell this night guard, hey, go walk this area. You know, go walk this area. Wherever this player is, let's go that. Let's move our system and go that way. So how do we do that? Well, let me tell you. I am going to make a hash table. And this is just one method of doing it. So let's call this location. And in it, we're going to use type string. And we have 4. And I am going to copy these, and those are going to be in here. They aren't going to be the keys. So the key is going to be 0, 0, 0, 1, 1, 1, 1, 0. And I don't know if those actually all line up. So you're probably wondering, what the hell is that? So here, if this guy, where's that world? If we're here, if we're 0, 0 on the index, we want to be using patrol 1 because that's what's up here, right? And if we are over here, we're going to be over 1 index, so we'll end up being 1, 0. So 1, 0 would need to be that guy. Or patrol 2 needs to be 1, 0, I should say. Right? So if I look at 1, 0, that needs to be patrol 2. Alright, so if I look at, well, let's go look at this guy. Patrol 3, he's over and up. So he's 1 and 1. So 1 and 1 is now patrol 3. And I'm assuming that means the last guy happens to be patrol 2. Nope, 4. There we go. So how do we get these indexes? How the hell do we match all that up? And it's very simply, let's go into our patrol state. So if we're into our patrol, we have our site system, we have patrol. Now in here, we just get the closest object to this reference. We don't want that. We're now going to change that to a variable, and this is going to be our, we'll just call it list. And that's going to be where we start. So how do we fill that variable? May you wonder. Let's make a new state. Let's say get position, Actually, no. Let's get, no, get position will do fine. So we need a reference to the player. So player should be a global. Anyway, so we happen to have a player variable I can use. We have to put that onto the player yet still though. So we're going to get the player. We're going to get his position. I'm going to get his X and his Z. Now, an X position on my player is some crazy ass numbers over here, right? Oh, see, now we have 50s. I was thinking of hundreds. So we're going to take this whole thing because the anchor point's in the middle, and I'm going to shift them all over roughly. Oh my god, I can't do that. I'm going to screw all that stuff up. So let's grab all that stuff and roughly go over 50. And that's just because I want the anchor point to what would have been here. So the player, he should be, roughly, he should be at negative 100 here and 100 over here. So he actually needs to be sitting. Apparently I went the wrong freaking way. So let's grab all that stuff again. And this is just, like I said, hopefully this will show you kind of an interesting way to do this. There we go. The player's right there. So that roughly is not going to be perfect. That's, whatever. That's actually fine. I really don't care. So over here I am at 0. Over here I'm at 100. And over here I'm at negative 50. I want to be at 0 because over here I want to be at 100. So there's 100 there. So now normally you probably wouldn't have your anchor points right in the middle like this, so you wouldn't have to deal with this crap, but apparently I like to do things the hard way. Alright, let's move that there, and what the hell's this? Beds. Alright, whatever, you sit there. So we're going to have to rebake the nav mesh now because it's all going to be loopy screwy. There we go. Simple fix. So we get the X and we get the Z. Now, like I said, now you could do this with triggers. It would work just fine. You'd be able to do smaller sections, bigger sections, and so forth. This method here, you can't really do that, but this method can actually use for numerous different things, which is why I'm going to show you this little trick. So here we have these panels are 100. Keep that in mind. That distance is important. So if we get those, and if I now float divide twice, and I guess, and float round. Float round. There we go. So if I float divide the X by 100 and the Z by 100, happens to be that distance, that width, and the length of those panels. And then I take the X and I store it, we'll store it as an int, and we'll call it X int. And this one can be Z, we'll store it as Z int. Alright, so now let's build string, and it only needs 2 parts, and we're going to take the X int and the X, or the Z int, not add to the end. This is going to be our We'll call it our area. Hash table get. And what do we call that hash table? Location. Location, location, location. We want the area. It's going to give us a type string. That is going to be our, did we already name that variable? Our list. There we go. So he needs to be at the very bottom. Order is very important, right? So that there will define our path, on which path to actually take. So if we say, okay, we get owner, that's fine. After that, let's come down here and let's bring this with us. And no, let's put this guy up here. Too late, I screwed that up. No, apparently I threw it out. All right, we'll leave that one there, but I'll move these ones here. So we're going to now get whichever one here is going to be based on our location around the map through this little bit of a math, getting the position, dividing it and rounding it, and building the string to get those keys. Now we can get the location, we get the closest point, and now we can carry on and off we go. I think we actually go over here into this guy. So what would happen then is if this changes, we would need more or less a way to say we need to restart. And we could do that, again, numerous ways. We could say, you know what, let's look at if our path, should we use path? No, we don't want to do that. We don't want to do that. We want, see now, one of the beauty parts about this is hash tables are really fast. It's kind of one of the neat things about doing it this way. We almost want to duplicate that, and then instead of get the closest, we'll just leave that. And when we're done, we can now get here, but we're going to get a different, I guess we could use, yeah, we'll just get a different list. So this is our, we'll call it new list. So ultimately, if we get it twice, but we only get it once up here, and we keep getting it every cycle, this one might be different than this one eventually. And more or less, if they are different, then we obviously need a new path, right? So if list to new list, doesn't matter which order, just as long as they're both here. If they're equal, we'll call it true. Let's change this to true. Then we're just going to keep going. And we're not going to worry about fucking anything. If it's not equal, we need a new path. And if that's the case, we're just going to zip up here, redo this stuff again, even though we really don't need to do that part, but we just really need to get the array list get closest of this guy here. We store him into the path, and life will just work out, I suppose, how you can look at it. So let's hit play. Let's just see what that looks like. That might be a little confusing. Probably sit there and be like, yeah, fuck, it is confusing, idiot. I'm like, oh, fuck, sorry. So here we have patrol. So we can see he ran through this stuff and he built a string off of 0 zeros, which makes sense. My player's in this area. We haven't gone anywhere yet. And I set this one up totally wrong. So let's fix that, because obviously the owner of the hash table is not on me, it is on world info. And it's going to be the same down here, obviously. I forget those so many times, it's crazy. It's almost criminal, I tell you. So, alright, so now we go into our patrol. And we look into here, we can see roof, we get the location, we get patrol 1. So he went and grabbed all the stuff. He's got the units, he's got the spheres. Life is good, so he's traveling. And I probably didn't move those things correctly, but whatever, it's working. And if I move, we can hear the footsteps. And if I move over here, we can now watch this AI. Once he finally gets the spot. I think it's because I didn't move the AI. Where is the brain? There's the brain. New list. So that part hasn't actually happened yet. Oh, because he probably took off to go do whatever. So we had all the stuff kind of ramped up. So where is he actually going right now? Sphere 1. Which is like in the wall. There you go, little guy. Of course, what I should have done is altered this stuff here so it's a lot lighter and easier for him. Maybe I'll do that, because we really don't want him draining too fast here when we're trying to test his stuff here. Let's just do 0.5. Should be plenty. The other thing is I should probably move the AI, because he's sitting way the hell over here and he should be in here. So the player, like I said, now it would probably be easier to do this with triggers. You're probably thinking, yeah, it is. And it is. I mean, triggers work great for this type of thing. Especially because you'd also get an object. It'd be easy to tack information onto it. But this is kind of a neat little system where you're more or less building a grid. And it's a really lightweight. Right, so we can see our distance. He's traveling along. He's doing his stuff. Let's up this a little bit. I should have upped his speed. That's what I should do. And he's going to go and... Oh, you know what? The loop goes up here. We need to fix that. We obviously, by we, I mean me, put this up here and it's in a bad spot. When he loops, he needs to go up here. Right? Because new path, if it's true, then we go up here. We can just continue on. Really. He just needs to intercept that looping. Or else he would have waited until the entire path was done, which maybe you want it like that, who knows. If you do, you can fly out, it's not, I mean, he would have eventually gone over there. He just had to go through all the check marks first. Not the end of the world. So he's run through. Now he sees it hopped over here. It's a long ways. Let's take a look. So he's there. I don't know what he's doing right now. He's like all crazy. Oh, we got the sphere in the wall. There you go, little guy. Sorry about that. Apparently when I moved it, I shifted everything over apparently. That should be sitting more closer to there. So, let's take a look here. So he went into here, the player. Well, okay, well that's probably a big part of our issue. Okay, again, let's just fix this up real quick for this guy before we get back into that. So patrol 1 needs to be outside of that frickin' wall. Poor guy. Patrol 2. So patrol 3. I should have just grabbed all 4 of them. Whatever. So if we said we're looking for the player, we also need to actually define our player. So get owner. Storm is a global. Oh my god, there's 2 players. I used the lowercase one, I'm pretty sure. It's just a variable. Just a variable. Alright, so now let's take this player. Boop. Move him over to testing area 2. Oh, he had an issue. He had a brain fart. He came in. Array list. Oh, I never changed that one either. Lord, 100. Look at me messing this up. Right, because we're going to want that to be that same list. I would imagine that's what's caused that. I hope. I hope. Move him over here. Let's hop in. Nope. Nope. So he went there. He went to go do his loop. The new path. Get next mark. So he sets distance. Gets next mark. Goes down. Pops into here. We loop. We're getting 1,000 limit on that. So how? Because if we loop, we go over here. So that can't really be hitting 1,000. Except for the fact we have that we never linked back in, apparently. I'm not too sure how I didn't do that. So when we're done, we go up here. And he would go down here, but we should actually take this guy when he's done. We might as well go over here. That would make a little more sense for him. Right, because if he's looping, we're going to go up here. This kind of needs... No, because no, that should be fine. I'm not crazy. You're crazy. You're all crazy. player, take him, zip him over there, grab our AI, go into the brain, go into our patrol, and we do have an issue. There is some sort of wild new issue. So he's not getting area, patrol, and new list. We still don't have a new list. So the area of 2-1. Well, how the hell do we get a 2-1 if we're over here? That doesn't make any sense. So that we should have not rounded, we should round down. Big freaking difference. We got a 2. There we go, because if I move over, we got that 1. Which then should give us that. He's now in patrol 3. Which is, I don't think is the right one, so I totally set that up wrong, apparently. Patrol 3 is up here. Because according to him, I am, so that was 1, so that everything has to round down. Alright, so let's fix that. Let's fix that real quick. Everything has to round down. We should do it over here too, so we don't mess this one up. And do I have floor? How do I not have a floor? That's insanity, I tell you. Well, what if they have a different round maybe that has it built in? Float to nearest. Let's check that one. There's float ceiling. We don't want that. We want float. We'll grab float floor. Just in case. If you don't know what floor and ceiling is, it kind of pushes the value to, of course I hit that, of course, to like, you know, like if it's more or less in that situation, it would push it down or push it up to a whole number. Yeah, I think you can define that though, within ranges. So it's like, oh, well, you can go from 0 to 50. Whoops. I mean that. Okay. Whatever. Whatever. We will work with this new float. So float round to nearest. Nearest 10. No, that's not, because we totally need the floor. Totally need the floor. This KI died to wait that minute anyways. Happens when you search too much. Float floor. There it is. Let's get float floor. So float floor. We're going to be replacing those. Incoming the new ones. Let's go X int. Get rid of this one. Get rid of that one. Copy that. Paste him in. Change him over to the Z and the Z int. Whoops. grab both those guys and paste them in here. Get rid of the 2 rounds and use the floors. But yes, if you haven't used floors and ceilings are quite useful for many different things, as you can imagine. So, okay, we've moved our player over here. We can now come over to our AI brain. Our little world info thing is going to tell our AI brain to apparently glitch out, to use patrol 2. So our player, who is over here, as you see, our AI is coming this direction. So he is trucking along with us, right? We only have the one AI, but the world info is holding that information, so we can track different things, and you can use that for audio spawning systems, all kinds of little things. It seems weird, but really it's just kind of based on a grid. Like that's more or less how grid systems kind of work, sort of, or they can work. Is you more or less need to build some sort of dictionary with the values. In Playmaker, we're limited to a dictionary with strings. So, granted, if these were big and double digits, I don't know, maybe you'd have some issues. But there's the AI. He's trucking along. He's following the same area. He is doing it. He's doing it. Go on, little guy. You can do it. Hide over here. Hear him walking. I suppose I could be using actual controllers, because I did build those. See, now you notice how he's running and I'm still getting his footstep sounds, sorta, but not consistent, right? It's only a little bit, and there are some more. But that's because it's blending with the walk in a lot of cases. So, which is why that timing thing is really nice to have in there, because it will stop that that issue of it possibly double sounding that walk. There we have our AI can now travel along 4 different sections by gathering info from our world info, so we can have a dynamic patrol system based on world location of the player. You could reverse that and have a dynamic one for the AI. You drop the AI here, he uses this one. Drop him here, and he uses this one. You could do that too. And then, of course, we added in the attacks and sounds and sending some damage over to the player. So hopefully that is a lot. Well, it is a lot, but hopefully it's good. Like I said, and the grid system is cool. It's a cool thing to learn and understand that. It could be really useful for a lot of different things. Like I said, the other option here, and it's easy, really easy to do, because I literally could have just went like that, right? And just, get rid of that or delete it. And we could have just used triggers and place it over top and said, okay, the player's in this one, put these in 4 different corners, and that works fine. And then you would also have a spot where you can put information, right? So it works. But this is kind of a cool little method that you can play with. You could also extend that with other hash tables that would extend information based on those. I won't get into that too deep right now, though. But anyways, there is some utility AI feeding off of the world and, doing some sound stuff, doing some attacks, beating that player to death, even though the player doesn't actually die. Little capsule guy, he got beat a few times. So we'll talk to you guys in the next series. Like I said, I think I'll finish this one here. I mean, I could go on for another freaking 100 hours on this one, but I don't want to. Yeah, spend hours on just little bits of detail though. I'd rather try to focus on more of some broader stuff and go that route. So we'll talk to you guys later.